Hello, this is Renee and Kent Miller, and we're back to lessons again today. We're going to be talking about going to the next highest level with cause, and that is in Chapter 5 of the Augmentation of Man, a Study in Renaissance, pages 118 to 119.
Yes.
And so Kent's got some back issues going on right now, so he's not exactly happy. He's in a lot of pain. Anyway, Kent receives these lessons through deep meditation, and we are passing them on and trying to get people to help people understand the language in this book.
No.
And so this one here,
Chapter 5.
it starts out, actually, we don't even understand.
We just got through reading it, and there's areas in there that we don't completely understand even.
So it talks about the road to bring those to understanding pontificates, which I suspect that this is coming from a spiritual pontification and not the church here. And it talks about it being a biennial event, and that it doesn't seem to make sense other than maybe it's on a cycle of some sort, or that perhaps either Kent heard the word wrong, I heard him say the word wrong, but we're going to just skip by that for now, other than perhaps it's a cyclic event. And we're going to go into more of a general explanation of this section of the book. So the general theme of it is how peace relates to understanding. And it seems like two different topics, but they're really interrelated.
And how are they interrelated? I'm not going to talk a lot. She's going to do most of the talking. With a grins.
So when we don't understand something, that causes us to have impetuous behavior. Impetuous is this
rash.
Sudden, rash, forceful, even violent behavior can evolve from a lack of understanding. So when we get to a place where we understand, you can see the emotional upset starting to settle in, and the calmness starts to come into the picture, and people tend to settle down.
So when you understand an event or a situation, you become calmer looking at that situation.
Yes, in that particular situation. So we tend to get pretty rattled. Emotions get real high when something happens and we don't understand what's happening. But as it is explained to us, as the truth evolves, then our level of emotion starts to drop, and calmness tends to replace the rash, sudden, provocative type of behavior.
It's only the first step into learning about peace. Peace takes a lifetime to learn.
And peace comes out of purposeful events. So this is one step in finding peace. And so it is really about collecting our information and trying to figure out what's going on before we overreact and we get into violent sort of behaviors.
So hoping for peace or hoping for something to happen, hoping is really not relevant, I should say, in this particular time, this particular humanity, because peace does not include the results of an event or happening.
Peace doesn't have the cause where we set forth our own behavior to finding what the truth is. Say something happens.
It doesn't have a purposeful choice.
Doesn't have purposeful action. And so when something occurs, it's the purposeful action that is our call to action to find out what the truth is. And without that, if we just go, well, we're hoping for truth, we pray for truth, that's not going to really give you the results of purposeful movements that move in the direction of understanding the situation so that we can bring about a state of peace associated with that event.
Yeah. So a superficial understanding creates an ideology without any real substance.
So when we don't understand, and you can see this in some sections of our society today, is that we tend to elaborate and add to this picture. We make it much more complicated than what it was originally intended, and it tends to veer off of the truth. So it gets very convoluted, very complicated, and then moves away from truth. Yeah. And so when we have a superficial understanding, that usually leads to ideology. And so ideology is kind of a dead-end area to be in because it doesn't give us that profound understanding of what's going on.
There are many ideologies out there of various types, kinds, etc. People make up their own ideologies of which ones they want to follow because there are so many.
So to profoundly understand a given situation is what creates the conditions to sustain our souls at a higher vibrational level. And so the superficial understanding really leads to dead-end ideologies, and it's not doesn't promote peace.
Yeah. The next thing we'll go to, what is kunin, which comes from
Kunin,
which comes from Q.
So Q is the quantum of all understanding, and that relates to
understanding all things, everything that's out there.
And it's equal to the understanding of the Creator. And so we are on a journey to learn and understand all that exists. And the Q, all that is actually a a changeable energy field as it meets its goals of understanding. That's the definition for all that is. And so it relates to the ever-changing level of universal consciousness.
Right.
And the energy associated with that.
It's continually expanding understanding. I mean, once we understand what's here, we got to understand what's outside of here. And that's going to take more than one lifetime to understand everything, because this universe is so huge, so humongous, that we only can take small steps because we can only give the understanding of where we're at that time. You cannot give an understanding of fourth grade chemistry when you're just entering introductory chemistry.
So how do we get to that level of understanding? First of all, try to just simplify it.
And that's
at
the key
your
to this
level.
whole thing, simplicity.
Simplify it at your level of understanding and add to it as you're able to allow this assimilation of the understanding. Don't try to force it. Don't try to understand the whole thing all at once, but just add in increments that you are able to adopt into your level of thinking and understanding before you add more to it. So
you have to have a love of learning to go into this book, basically, and try to understand what's there. If you have the love of learning, then you'll eventually give it the time and necessary involvement to where you will begin to understand it.
And in today's atmosphere, everybody has an agenda, and everybody is feeding us a narrative that directs us toward understanding their agenda. However, it makes for a very complicated picture in our society today. It's very hard to discern what the truth really is.
Yeah.
And so we really have to know the history behind the truth that somebody is trying to deliver. So what is their objective? We want to look at the who, what, when, where, why, and understand where this information is coming from. What is the intent of the author of this information? And we want to investigate it and contemplate it and connect those dots to see, does this really make sense? Or is there something else going on here? So we're moving away from a period of time where we were spoon-fed information. Now we have to claim the rights ourselves to the understanding and to our own truth and finding deeper levels of truth.
That means you're going to have to do research. You're going to have, just like being back in school, you're going to have to do some study and research to find out who, what, when, where, why.
And you have
answers.
You have to have tenacity in today's world. You cannot rely on other people to tell you what the truth is, because our world is very convoluted and there's many agendas, and you will have to have that tenacity to really find the truth in a world of darkness, and darkness being the lack of truth that exists pervasively.
Yeah. And we've got to quit looking for someone to spoon feed us all of our truths where we don't have to do research.
So take the basic understanding, build a solid foundation, add to that understanding a little bit at a time, ask questions, research the history.
Don't be afraid to ask questions. That's how you get answers.
And so eventually you'll be able to connect the dots and come to a conceptual understanding, which is exactly where we're moving into in this next cycle of learning. So we hope that this has shed light on this section of the book, and we'll join you next week for a new lesson.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to ask us questions. We will give you what we think the answer might be. We're not always totally right, and we even admit to that, but we sit down and we talk about it and come to our conclusion what we think something is right. That may not be your conclusion, and that does not mean that you're wrong.
So enjoy your journey, and peace be with you.
Yeah, look at our blog.
Our blog is available at verdience.com. Check in the menu drop down there. Otherwise, at the bottom of if you scroll down the bottom of the website, it has only the latest 3 blogs.
Yeah, we've got to get more blogs.
And then the YouTube is under Renee and Kent Miller. They have been organized into the playlists. So if you click on playlists, it'll take you to each chapter, and each chapter has been organized and is in order. So that can help you as you progress along in the book. You can correlate it directly. So we will see you next week, and in the meantime, you enjoy your week and your learning, and thank you for joining us. Have a good day. Bye-bye.